Why the federal government was quick to prescribe IPOB but slow in forbidding killer herdsmen, lawyers say. Welcome to the news, and please subscribe to our channel. For years, Nigerians have waited for the federal government to make a pronouncement condemning criminal activities of killer herdsmen who kill, maim, and rape innocent citizens. Is it not proper that all groups unleashing violence and terrorism citizens are called out and outlawed to pave way for security agencies to go after them wholeheartedly? But that seems like an action that will never happen under the current government. The indigenous people of Biafra IPOB for its unlawful activities was in 2017 pronounced as a terrorist organization by the then Nigerian Army Director of Defense Information, Major General John Enenche, after a reported clash between military personnel and IPOB members in Umuahia, Abia State. Major General Enenche gave reason for pronouncing IPOB a terrorist organization to include that IPOB members used stones, machetes, and broken bottles, among others, on the military patrol on September 10, 2017. The federal government had and still insists that IPOB is a terrorist organization, alleging that the group had printed its currency and was extorting money from innocent citizens of Nigeria. It stated that not even the herdsmen who are reported to have clashed with, killed farmers, raped women, and destroyed farmlands could be placed on the same level with IPOB, which is accused to have carved out a territory of its own within Nigeria. It should be noted, however, that after the Nigerian army pronounced IPOB as a terrorist organization, the then president of the Nigerian 8th Senate, Dr. Saraki, condemned the categorization of IPOB as a terrorist organization, saying it was unconstitutional. He said that only legislation from the Nigerian National Assembly could make such a pronouncement valid. Dr. Saraki has said, I also wish to state the announcement of a prescription of a group known as Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, by governors of the Southeast State, and the categorization of a group as a terrorist organization by the Nigerian military are unconstitutional and does not follow due process. Our laws makes clear provision for taking such actions, and without the due process being followed, such declaration cannot have effect. I am sure the President will do the needful by initiating the right process. Consequent upon this comment, the federal government immediately took its quest for IPOB prescription to court, where it obtained a court order prescribing IPOB. A federal high court in Abuja ruled that IPOB is a terrorist organization and prescribed its activities. What you have noted is the fact that in 2017, the United States government said that it does not see the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB as a terrorist organization, adding that though she is strongly in support of a peaceful resolution of internal crisis in Nigeria, however, under the United States laws, IPOB does not fit in as a terrorist organization. However, militant herdsmen who have caused so much harm to Nigerians have not been termed terrorists. Earlier in the year, Nigerians petitioned United States President Joe Biden, the United Nations Organization, the Economic Community of West African States, the African Union, and European Union to treat herdsmen as terrorists. The petitions alleged that the Nigerian government had been expressing undue sympathy for the killer herdsmen. Recounting his experience with herdsmen at his village in NBC during the lockdown, James Chinemerem, an entrepreneur who traveled for Easter holiday and was caught up in the village due to the pandemic, said some herdsmen came into Udo village in Ezihite local government, NBC, through its boundary with Obowo local government area. Being a small community, the king sent the village security to ask the herders not to come there, but they refused until the next day when a youth leader in the community that understood their language spoke to them. They went to Onitsha, Mbese, where they decided to camp. At night, the herdsmen would allow their cattle to lie on major roads that lead to Abia State, and on one of those nights, a motorcyclist ran into the cattle accidentally, he said. He noted that after the incident, the villagers asked them to leave, but the herdsmen threatened to kill people, which led to a riot. Explaining the issues, human rights lawyer Chief Malcolm Omohobo said government could only prescribe a body that is identifiable and determinable with clear structures, aims, and objectives. It is on this premise that the Nigerian government has failed, refused, and or neglected to prescribe the militant herders like it did to Boko Haram and IPOB, he said. He suggested that the government has refused to prescribe herders, perhaps because it has sympathy for such militia herders, as there is no plausible reason why government should refuse to admit that what the criminal herders are doing amounts to terrorism. If the government is sincere with itself and wants to prescribe the militant herders as a terrorist group, what it must first do is to admit the acts of the militia herders are acts of terrorism. Separate the genuine herders from militant herders and then declare the militant herder as terrorist groups. All the government has to do is carry out proper investigation to find out the names of the leaders, address and sponsor of a militant herder to make them identifiable and determinable, he stated. Omehebo argued that by his estimation, the militant herdsmen are terrorists based on their activities, but suggested that the government is unable to prescribe them like it did to Boko Haram and the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, possibly because it does not have a recognized leader. They have cleverly hid their leaders and their structure from the public and have chosen to operate through legitimate socio-cultural bodies called Miyetti Allah. If the government wants to be honest with itself, it should prescribe Miyetti Allah for supporting the militant herdsmen who are carrying out acts of terrorism, and by doing so, the government will get at the militant herdsmen, he suggested. Ajoke Olawuyi of the University of Essex, UK, noted that herdsmen cannot be necessarily be banned because they carry out legitimate work. She explained that the reason government is inclined to label the indigenous people of Biafra a terrorist group is because of the definition of terrorism, which implies that such a person or a group challenges the sovereignty of the government in a state. IPOB is